Sorry, guys, I was a few minutes late. Let's see. I check the agenda if anybody put the agenda up. Okay. Nothing specific in the agenda, David. I think if there's nobody else has any questions, I like to dig deep on the project plan and see if we can chase down some status, especially if Shiva joins.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Okay.
Quick thing, I need to drop from the meeting like in 5 minutes or so to handle some urgent errand. But if there are any immediate questions for me, we can talk about that right now before I jump off the call. I didn't have anything else on the agenda either.
Milan, I think the question I'll have for you is like you were last time you had to approve some PRs from Shiva and Shiva had to approve some of your PRs. Did that happen from the last meeting?
So I got signature spec approved. There was some feedback from Steve around the naming of content types, etc., that I said I'll address in a revision. And then Shiva had the directory structure spec on which Rakesh and me provided feedback last week, but I haven't seen an updated version from Shiva, so it's in Shiva's code right now.
Okay, thanks.
And I think other than that, we changed we updated the notation maintainers. So that helped a bunch. I was able to get all the blocked PRs from Rakesh and Pritesh, getting that merged in.
Say the last part again. Which was the PR that you got merged in?
The implementation PRs. We said Shiva and me will have merged permissions on the implementation PRs. So I was able to get the PRs unblocked, get them merged.
Oh, so now you and Shiva are the implementers who have the privilege to do that then. Okay.
For notation, just the notation, not Notary project.
Got
just the notation 3 repos.
For three repos of notation. Okay, that was a big blocker that we discussed last time. Looking at the notes, so that's taken care of. That's good. Thanks.
Cool.
Anybody else has any questions for Milan before he steps out?
I think I just a couple of things. The directory spec, like I said, me and Rakesh put feedback in, and then Shiva, I wanted to know if you would have bandwidth or like if you have a start date for the local key signing spec. The main thing there was how do we encrypt the local key? I think that is another piece that we are waiting for.
Yeah, regarding the bandwidth, so I just proposed the registry authentication spec and have sent the PR.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I think I need time to update the what call the directory spec, and okay. I also need time to review all the PRs that you guys submitted. Yeah,
that sounds good. Okay, all right. That was all from my side. Thanks, folks.
Shiva, can you send the PR link for registry authentication?
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm updating some of the guys. For the last couple of meetings, I've been taking attendance and just putting people's name on it. But if you see I missed your name, then feel free to add it. And I've been adding the agenda items as we are discussing them and the meeting notes as we are going through. So if you ever see something that I missed, feel free to fix it.
Thanks,
Shiva,
Samir. I'm traveling, so I'm not online to make the edits.
that's fine. I'm making the edits. I think I got everybody who's on the call today. 3, 3, 6, 8. Yep. I got everybody added to this who's on the call. Okay, let's move on to anybody else has any item they want to bring up. Otherwise, David, me, and Femin can help take the project update and just poll everybody on their action item.
Samir, are you going to go through the public spreadsheet?
Yes, that's what's one of the ideas, to just take a status on it, because I think both Steve, me, David, and maybe Femin are interested in casting a date on this one as to where everybody is with the action item, so we can say, hey, this is the expected date amongst us where we are heading. So it will be good to go through that spreadsheet.
Okay, I had something related to this spreadsheet itself. Since we are covering it, I'm good.
Yep. But I'm opening the floor for anybody else has any agenda item to add to it. Okay, if not, David.
Hey, Samir. No,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't got you very clearly. Could you rephrase your question? Yeah.
Sorry, can you say that again, Femin?
Yeah, I think I didn't get you clearly. Could you rephrase your question? Would you request me to open the spreadsheet and go through it in our public sharing?
Yeah. If you want to do that, then it will be nice, and we can just get we can poll, and you were going to follow up with Shivi on some of his action items from last time. I and Rakesh looked at some of the action items we are following up, so we can converge and update that spreadsheet together.
Okay, I will present and yeah, please wait for seconds.
Okay. Okay, let's go top down.
Which row?
Let's go top down and just update them as we go along, so that it should be quick update on a few of them. Let's go from top to bottom.
To bottom.
Okay.
Can anybody see it?
Yeah, I think I can see it now. Yeah. So the first item, I think, verification extensibility. Oh, Milind ran out, but he's working on the spec part. I did talk to him, Rakesh, right? This is something that he was working on. The verification extensibility.
Yes.
So maybe we can put the status or start date as in progress. And shame on me for not asking Milind when he expects to finish it, but I'll be pressing him for an answer. So in the start date, you can just say in progress for right now, Femin.
Okay.
I know he's working on it. I don't think he's very far off. He's working on this. This is the spec part of it. The next item was, I think this is the one that Shive said that you have some feedback on this, Shive, the next line. Oh,
by the way, I also have sent the PR link in the chat window, so you can have a link, have a look, and also paste the link to the meeting notes.
okay. So this is for the registry authentication spec. Okay, let's copy and paste this link into the spreadsheet. But this is for a different line, but that's fine. We can do that. This is for the line number 13.
Okay.
Right. Line number 13. I think you're too far down, or maybe I'm not. There's a lag between your screen and my screen.
I think we can paste the link.
Yeah, no, you can paste the link in the description. Like if you scroll right to the description, there's a column there.
Yeah.
Scroll right to it. There's a GitHub issue column.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
right, Shive, we are getting you right on this one, right? This is that related to this spec part. Do you, I guess what I heard was you're working through it, you got feedback from Milind and Rakesh, and you will close it as soon as possible, right? So this is work in progress now.
Yes. So I just need the PR to be reviewed, and once it's merged, we can head to the implementation. By the way, I don't have an account for ECR, so I cannot test ECR. Sorry.
No, that's fine. We will test ECR, but I will jump on the topic in a second. Actually, let's just close it. On the topic, David, did you see any updates from the person who reported the problem? I thought you were going to chase it down and see why it's not working. I know you were answering on the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I did respond, and he responded back. I responded again, and then I tagged Shuei and Fenman, and I think they're now aware of it. So I don't think we've made much more progress past that, though.
Okay, so no new code has been checked in, which we think will fix the issue or will help us shed more light on it.
No.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's take it from top down again. But Shive, I think I heard Milind and Rakesh say that they've given you feedback on this PR already. So you just need to apply the feedback and then request approval, right? That's the next step on line number 13.
No, that is a separate PR.
Oh.
That is the directory structure one. I think
Okay.
it is above.
Okay, so we have to review this. So the next step on this one is review by Rakesh. Okay, Rakesh, you got that action then. Okay, so let's mark the start date as work in progress on this one on line number 13, start date. Raymond, if you can mark it in progress. Just say work in progress. Just say work in progress or something. Otherwise, we know started or not. I'm just creating a legend as we're going along. If you have a better legend, please, by all means, do that.
We change it from the current from the date to a work in progress.
Right, because we've started on it, right? Okay, let's scroll back up and come top down again. Spec for config location directory structure. We heard on that one. I'm looking at line number 8 now. We are coming down. We are working on this as well, like Shive, right? You have the feedback.
So, yes, I need to review the comments and update the PR.
Okay. So
shall we update the effort week and count the the review period and efforts to this line?
I think we can, yeah, if there's work left, yeah, by all means, yeah, while we are at it.
Maybe we can leave 1 or 2 days and plus it to the current effort weeks. How do you think of it, Shuei or someone else?
I think it's harder to go less than half a week on these spreadsheets. So if it's work in progress, we know Shive is on it, but.
All right, so I will change it from the start date to work in progress.
Yeah, Steve, the next 2 are for you, but I think here, I think you're looking for some feedback on the feedback. I think we gave the feedback. We just need to close it now and remove some of those commands that we talked about will not be supported for the initial release. I was looking at the next 2 items on line number 9 and 10, the signing command spec and the verification command spec. I think we can call them work in progress, Steve, with your with the PR that you have created for them. But we just need to decide which are the minimum set of CLI commands we will launch with, and only those one will go through for our CLI end-to-end testing.
No, agreed. I think one of the things that I was thinking about is the certain key remove and add capabilities. Is the concern that those couldn't be implemented over the trust policies, or that you would have to specify which trust policy you're trying to add them to? Because so I agreed to move to that model. Totally agree with that. I'm just trying to find the balance between usability and security, and that was that discussion that I opened up on it. So
yeah, I think I'll be fine if we make those commands work with the new model, but I think that will be work which we haven't planned for in this spreadsheet. But if we decide to do that work, then I'll be fine with it. So if you want to leave the command, then we have to make sure the command works, because that command currently doesn't use the directory structure, as I understand.
Right. No, well, it uses a directory structure, right? So there is a config file where I think it was Shiva that did the original work, where it does configure the keys. It's just we're basically saying that that config file is evolved to a trust store policy, which also uses a directory. So it on the surface, it doesn't appear that it's, you know, a fundamentally different concept. The thing that I believe what we're saying, though, if I remember the spec right, is you could have multiple trust store policies on one machine. Is that correct?
Rakesh, can you help me here?
There can be only one policy document, but the document may contain many policy statements.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. So it's one file, but multiple statements. So I think we just need to look at what would that look like. Like if you were to write the walkthrough, and we've got a pretty clean walkthrough for Alpha 1, right? There's definitely sharp edges around, don't get me wrong, but you know, I can basically add a signing key with I could sign, and then by default, trust verification fails because you didn't configure a trust store or a key to trust. So then you say, you know, key add, and then your verification works. Whether that adds it to a config directory, a config file, and points to a directory, or adds it to a trust store policy, it's relatively the same, right? The implementation would just slightly different, but the scenario is the same. If we don't implement key add, what does that walkthrough look like? And is it, you know, heavily burdensome for the user that's trying to come in? So that's the gap that I just want us to think about. The other piece, just to put the framing of the two from a security perspective, did we say where and I'm sure we did, I just didn't remember where it is, like where does the trust store get stored? Is the trust store stored in a user directory where somebody attacking at the machine can just change it? Or is it stored in an admin location that you have to be, you know, a sudo to make changes?
Rakesh, wanna address that?
I think this is part of the directory structure PR that Shiva raised. I think the trust store can be at both places, system directory and also user directory. Is that correct, Shiva?
Pardon. So which thing you are talking about? The trust policy or the trust certs or others? So
both trust policy or also trust
okay.
store.
Okay.
Here's the scenario.
Okay. So just let me conclude that it can be in the system directory or the user directory or both.
So that's what I'm kind of getting at is if I'm on a build environment or a deployment environment, can that user run code that can change the trust store policy, and therefore an evil actor can say, yep, you should trust this key because it has access to that permission, that directory, as opposed to can I lock down the environment that says the code that's executing as part of a build or part of a deployment, it does not have permissions to change the trust store policy on the machine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I think just changing the trust store, you need to be able to make two changes to the trust store and the trust policy. And both of them are files on the or directory structure. So you're saying who has the right permission to both of them?
Correct.
Okay.
This was the thing that when I was going through the usability and security discussion, that I realized that, this isn't just a matter of giving easy APIs, because a bad actor doesn't need it to be easy. They just need the capability. So if we don't support, add and remove key, for instance, then we didn't stop the security person. We stopped the user we're targeting to be too hard. So what we really want to do is make sure that the bad actor, no matter how hard they try, they don't have permissions to change the trust store policy or the keys, because we don't want them to add their evil key and all of a sudden the verification passes.
I think we're talking about two different problems here. Permissions to the trust store policy is a runtime concept, right? Like who can access what they can change, versus a set of CLI commands, which we ship means we will have to support them and we'll have to make sure that at the end-to-end is able to kind of like validate that. So I don't think the notation libraries or the CLI venture into the permission model. We don't isolate, we don't do process runtime. So that's a different thing. How the CI would secure it is also the CI's problem, and how they actually give permission to directories. I don't see the concern with user directories, because today SSH keys, user keys, and all that are stored in the same model. We're not storing them in any different model. So these are not concerns that I'm following here. We didn't factor into actually making the trust store experience, including the CLI commands here. That's the gap I'm seeing in this one.
Yeah, so the design behind it is that users can run their notation and all of everything without a root. So that means if you are on a shared machine, like the machine in the university, and the servers are shared, and you don't have a root access, but you still can use notation and other things in the user mode. I mean, as a normal user. So I think that's better. Otherwise, if you restrict the user cannot have configs in their user config folder, then you must have root access to install or use notation. I think that's bad. So
it's not a matter of using notation. It's a matter of configuring the trust store.
Yes.
So
yes. Without root, how can you configure trust store? Because you cannot configure that in the user directory, right?
Well, that's the question I'm raising. So since we have a trust store policy that's based on the client, how do we make sure it is secure?
Yes.
And
so how do we make it secure? That problem is easy. That is, we should, for critical services, we should create users for each services. So for example, if we are running notation in a critical system, then we should create a user for the notation process and run it in that user. So other users cannot access the config files and other things through that user.
I think we're talking about what is the default configuration and policy based in a GitHub action on an AKS, ingress controller, whatever we want to say is our DevOps deployment step.
Yeah, so those are all runtimes, and they have different security models for each of those runtimes. The libraries or the CLI don't solve that. We should probably talk about the experience for GitHub action through CLI, through actions. I don't know what it is, but none of that was called out. So I don't see how the default experience actually, are you saying that the default experience is the GitHub action experience, or is the default experience a CLI with a single user trying to just test this out?
I'm saying that the default experience should not, we need to think about the default experience regardless of what the entry points are. How do we secure the trust store so that it's not immediately available to alter? Because if the whole idea is we're pushing the trust store verification on the client, which is good, but it needs to make sure that it is secure. And I don't know if we should have to go back and tell somebody, by the way, a rogue user can alter your user directory, so you should add additional
Yeah,
steps. Just to make
without
this work.
talking about the runtime or the place that it's run, none of the security models or the threat models work. So if we want to discuss this, we have to specifically call out what is the model in which you're going to run this and how you're going to run this, right? So I think it's important. You cannot say that the default experience can be any entry point. It has to be a specific way in which they execute it, given that it's a security set of tools. But I'm not seeing how this is overlapping with any of the discussion that we're having right now in terms of the add remove CLI command is going to be executed by a user, right? And if it is a CLI command that's executed at the user store, it should operate only on the user's scope of permission. It's not got a GitHub action semantic here because that's a different runtime altogether.
Well, I'm not sure if it is a different time. That's what I'm getting at, is the user should be able to run notation verify. If they want to run notation add key or even drop a file, because remember the idea of notation key add is no different capability than being editing the config file.
Correct,
The
correct.
trusted
So
policy. The question then is, where is that file? Does the user have access to that file by default? That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, technically, if the file didn't exist, you should be able to pass it in as a parameter. That trust policy is not secured in some separate way. The trust policy is just a definition of how to look at which cert to pick up. It's only configuration, and configuration is user configuration. We are not saying this is policy, this is execution environment or runtime. I think we are mixing two concepts here, right?
Isn't even the policy location configurable by user? First thing, like we use XDG and it's like default location which user can configure.
Right.
They have to configure
But that is what I'm challenging. So if you take, I'll just use Windows for instance, just because it's a known one, at least to me, is the trust store for Windows is not available for the end user, the non-admin to go modify.
There's a difference here. It's like we are calling it name test store. Even though there's a store there, user has to put it in policy also. So in Windows, there's like different semantics here. In Windows, if you add a certificate trust store, it's get by default trusted for everything. But in case of Notary, even if you add a certificate there, you have to call it out.
Well, you're just making it two commands. If I, as a normal user, have the ability to add the policy and add the correct location, then I can still do the thing where I can let my evil key through. So I don't know if it's actually more than just making a better determination of where the file exists. That's what the issue I'm trying to raise is I don't think it's from a security perspective, I don't think it's a matter of whether it's notation cert add or notation key add remove, as more a matter of where the file's stored is where it makes it secure or not.
I think we are going sideways on this discussion. I want us to be focused on the spreadsheet.
Yep.
Can we take this offline? Maybe Steve, can you create a GitHub discussion and we can discuss this there?
Well, we have a GitHub discussion on that. Just when we're talking about adding or removing method calls and how we're going to work through this interaction, I think we just need to think about it from a security perspective, not just the usability. That's how this conversation came up.
I agree, Christy. Yeah, that's how we waded into this. Like, I think we are trying to lock down on which CLI commands to support for RC1, and you have a valid point. If those key add, cert add, if we should include them for first release. I think
wait, why do we want
actually the issue? Hold on, it's not actually those methods. What I'm suggesting is this discussion surface. The issue is it doesn't matter whether the methods are there or not. If the trust stores can be added by a normal user, then an evil user can hijack that user's process in a build action and just add their own key, and therefore verify will succeed.
I think we can tackle this separately.
Yeah.
The directory structure PR is already talking about the user directories. Maybe we can discuss the security aspect of this in that PR. And for the command specs, we can assume that the files can be anywhere. I don't think that impacts the spec itself, but the security aspect of this can be discussed in the directory structure spec. Does that sound good?
Yeah, you're basically we're saying is let's focus on securing the files, and then the APIs that access them is a usability issue, not a security issue. That's the point that I was trying to get to.
Okay, so if I were to say on both of these signing command spec and verification command spec, they are work in progress. Steve, you have a PR out there. We just want to close it and agree on which CLI commands will we support for RC1. For both of these, yeah. So we just need to get these closed. I think Fabian Market is work in progress right now, and we just need to have those discussions and close it for both this and the verification command. And because we are running out of time, I don't think we'll get to all of it. How about we look at Shive's action items first? Because Shive will and Fabian may not be able to join next Thursday's call because of time. Let's go down the list and look at Shive's items first. Or is there one, Rakesh, you wanted to jump on? You can mark number 10 as work in progress as well. That CLI command spec covers both of them.
I wanted to check on the 9th and 10th items, which we discussed just now. So
okay,
I
so
don't have anything else.
Okay. So 9th and 10th has been discussed. The action item we took there is that the security implications will be discussed in the directory structure spec. And for the CLI command, Steve, if that discussion has happened there, I still need your input to say which are the minimum commands we want to support on day one. So that's still there. Okay, let's look at line number 12, Shive's items.
Yep.
Yeah. Spec for signing the local key. So I see description that is we are talking about encrypting and decrypting the local key, right?
Yes, behind some kind of a passphrase, yes.
Yeah, actually, I did some research on this item, and I found the issue that we don't have a Golang library for that. So for encrypting the key using some encrypting methods and decrypting it, the building library is deprecated.
Oh.
So that means we don't have a library for doing that. I will send you a link in the chat window.
Let's add this information here in the description to whatever Shiva just said, Femin. But what is the, so if that library is deprecated, don't they have a new library in place of it?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, so we'll have to write a new library for it. Is that the new work which we are finding now?
Just let me paste the link first.
Okay.
Okay, so this set of APIs are deprecated because they think the IFC 1423 is insecure. So that means all the implementation based on IFC 1423 are insecure. That means we cannot use the encryption for I mean, we cannot encrypting the keys, at least using the PKCS5. Yeah, but if we want to implement something like PKCS8 or PKCS12, I don't think we have a library for that. Maybe we can have a search.
So I'm not an expert on this one. Rakesh, Pritesh, do you have any thoughts on this action item with this new information?
I will have to look into it. I remember a few of the CLI commands do that. We can look into it. Like I remember one is Go implemented, so I can take a look at that.
Okay, so Pritesh, you will take an action item to look at that. But let's from an impact perspective, then Steve, Wim, David, the impact I see is if we don't have a solution here, then for local keys, those keys will be not encrypted. That means the default implementation of notation client will keep keys in plain text, which means, hey, customers, please don't use keys in plain text. It is just for demo.
Yeah, I mean, even the
I also
CLI
want
says
to get
generate
more
test certificate.
information on that. Stickstore and Fusio also have this problem, and I think they just discussed 20 days ago. I will paste a link for their discussion.
Feynman, can you add all of this information in here so that, or you can
Sure.
add a new column or whatever so that we don't lose this good information?
Yeah. Let me add it to others and
So what would be the option here if we cannot do passwords on the keys?
One workaround can be stored in some config file. It's a plain text.
Where we
Instead of,
put
like,
the
asking-
passwords in clear text in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than at least showing them every time than they type the sign command.
Well, I mean, the local signing scenario is, starts with generate test certificate. And this one of the things we have to do is get back to our docs as well. So it's not the worst thing. And the fact that we actually are, I would assume our docs would both start with, hey, here's how you use Azure Key Vault. Here's how you use AWS Key Vault or Key Signer, or however you're going to call it. Like, we want to make sure that the user can start up easily. So I don't want to lose the capability, but we can certainly put, warnings, warning flags as output. We could add that.
Okay, so the next step here is Pritish will think if he has a better idea here, but let's assume we don't have a better idea. That means we don't have a library to use. That means we'll keep the keys in plain text and give warnings to users saying, hey, the keys are kept for this demo in plain text. You are better off using your HSM or remote key store. Am I getting you right,
Yeah,
Stephen?
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We can, in the warning, we can send them to a notaryproject.dev, URL
Okay.
for how to use, key vault providers or key signing. Are we call them key vault providers? We call them key signing providers. I'm not, what do you want to do?
I don't know at this point. I don't want to pick a name. But
Naming's hard. Okay.
yeah.
We shouldn't use raw text in the key. I mean, if anyone is using just saying that we only support remote key vault providers, we don't support local signing.
No, we
If
will
you-
support local signing, but the local signing is with
It's not
naked
secure.
key.
It's not secure.
Yeah, which is not secure, so we don't recommend it. It's like we'll make it blatantly
Yeah, we
obvious.
are. So we are saying we don't recommend local.
And we can
signing.
generate a warning flag. Correct.
And we can revisit this. Let's investigate. There should be some solution out there, and I'm not sure how much time it will take to implement our own solution.
Yeah,
That's one.
For me, I think it's okay, but and also we can have a warning on the CLI. But if we have intensive checks on the code because we use deprecated building library, the code check may not be passed. I mean, later.
Yeah, that's a good point, Shiva. I think we'll have to just think about it hard, whether you want to use a deprecated library or just not use a library at all, and just say it's in plain text and not recommended for use. So let's take a break on this. Let's put an action item here that Steve, I think you or Milind especially need to think about it from a crypto perspective. Will this get approved if we include a deprecated library?
Yeah, that does. It doesn't set a great precedence that we are adding a deprecated library. It's one thing if we were using one and it got deprecated after we were using it, but
yeah. So I will discuss this with Milind. He's not here today. What are his thoughts? And Roy, if you have some thoughts on it. At present, I'm thinking we just don't use it. That's my current thought.
I wouldn't use it if it's already deprecated. The question is coming up with a fallback plan pretty quick. This is the issue.
Yeah, the fallback plan, as we just spitball it here, was we will not encrypt it. We just say, hey, this is for demo purpose only, and you should not use it in production. A warning of that nature.
yeah, basically generate a warning, give them a URL that shows how to use Key Vault providers.
I would say let's revisit this. Like, there might be a solution out we don't know.
Yep. Yeah, we will revisit this. So let's park it based on what we
So on Windows, the PKCS 8 and 10 and 12 are all available from the crypto layer. Problem here is trying to figure out something that will work across all platforms. And that's the issue, right?
Yes, if we have a library for Go for PK68 or PK612, then we are good.
Let me see if I
but-
can. Let me see if I can
Yeah.
find one, Shiwei. And
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we're saying, you know,
yeah, we don't
I
have
think we're all
one in the
agreeing.
building library.
Sorry.
the place I'd start here, Steve, is I'd send mail out to Jared or Barry and see whether there is an existing, or to Jared to see whether there's one already out there for Go that they've been tracking.
So, but just so I make sure we're prioritizing this in the stack, this is the local signing scenario we're still talking about, right?
I would do this as a low priority thing just so we have a fallback.
Yeah.
Would rather not put in a whole bunch of help text saying, hey, don't use this, because that sounds pretty weak.
Agreed.
Well, I think what we're saying is the local signing scenario is incomplete. Here's how you use remote signing providers, so we could actually give them an actionable way. But if I'm just doing a demo, I'm fine with that output, right? You know, if I'm just, or when I say just doing a demo, I'm not talking about a conference. I'm talking about me as a learning experience. I'm not ready to sign up for key vault providers and so forth. I don't want that complexity. I just want to get a feel for what this experience looks like. Give me a warning. That's fine. Oh, okay. Now I'm ready to move into dev or production. We have a clear supported path that we all feel comfortable with. I think what we're saying is how much work do we put into the getting started scenario? Because do we really think that a local signing scenario is, you know, core to our experiences going forward?
No,
I mean,
it
if
is.
you get to HSMs and stuff like, you know, hardware-based keys, that's a different story.
Okay, so let's put in the start date as an action item, Roy, to investigate a new library.
Yeah.
I think that's where we are on that one. Thanks, Roy, for taking that for us and speaking to crypto experts on this. If Milind were here, I would have assigned it to him, but
So the interesting thing here, Steve, is fine for the demo, but I've seen so many people go into production with the warning and go, you know what, I forgot.
okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hear where you're going.
Yeah. Let's just, we can prioritize it later. Let's look at the next one first, Shive. I think the next one was line number 13. I think we talked about it already. Let's look at other Shive's item, which is the next one after that. Refactor notation Go. So Shive, do you think you can start work on this? Line number 16?
I think I cannot do it in parallel because I need to update the PRs for for directory and other things. If I have bandwidth besides updating the PRs and review other PRs, I can work on that PR.
Okay.
Work on that work item.
Okay,
Can
so
you
let's
please
put a
open the
reasonable
issue?
start date on it, or is Pritesh or Rakesh have a different idea?
Yeah, so I also want to raise a concern that because we are working on a lot of things and we need reviewers to review the PRs. So I think that's also considered as a time resource. So reviewers need time to review PRs in high qualities. So we also need to plan the reviewing process.
Yeah, this is the conversation we had last Thursday morning where we were talking about, partly this is part of the process of the timeliness. Like if it's the end of the day Redmond time, we get the benefit of Shanghai time or China time in the whole, as we come back in the morning and it's like, well, it's done. If we're doing the PR in the morning in Redmond time, we're now waiting for the following day. So
I will be partially working on this week, moving the code from Notation Go and Notation to Notation Core Go.
In fact, I raised a couple of CRs for refactoring already. And also Jonathan from my team is also working on part of this.
Okay.
I don't know if we still need 2 weeks of effort for this.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about this, like Rakesh, based on what you're telling me is we just call this item to be assigned to just Milind, reduce the work in progress to just 1 week now, and call it work in progress and just call this item a Milind item, because you and Pritish are putting some work in it and remove Shiva's name. Is that right?
I would check with Milind first before we
Okay.
change the owner.
Okay.
But we did some part of work.
You did some part of work already. So, okay. So let's call it work in progress on line number F a little bit on column F and call it 1 week going forward. And Shiva, I hear you that you are not able to start on it. So I didn't realize that Pritish and Rakesh have made some progress on it. The next one, and by the way, Femin, reduce the effort to 1 week. I think, is that fair, Rakesh, if I call it 1 week now going forward?
Yeah, I think that is fair.
Okay.
Yeah, update it.
This is the one where, Shiva, we need your help. You need more about it. And this is where you said you can't test for ECR, but is that issue fixed now, or are you going to check in more code for this?
I think it's a different thing, right? So I think this work item is not just fixing this issue. This item is to implement what I have specified in the spec, right? Just want to confirm that.
Yeah, the spec is different line item in that spreadsheet. And this is the implementation of that spec.
Yeah, so basically I need the spec to be merged first, then we can have an implementation. But just want to make clear, this work item is for the implementation of the spec or just to fix the issue. I mean,
implementation.
Fix the issue one. Pardon?
This is for the implementation, and we assume
Okay.
the issue will be fixed by this. But I thought in your earlier comment you had said once we bring the new Horas Go library, it will get fixed. We brought
Yes.
the new Horas Go library, it did not fix it. So
Okay, then it's still the issue 119, right?
yeah,
And it's not working against all the registry or just some registries.
there is a linked discussion to this. If you scroll down, there's a linked discussion to
Oh,
it.
okay, I see. It's a feature of notation logging. Okay. Can you go to that comment which has the issue? So where's the actual issue?
The actual issue is described in that number 150. If you look at, hang on, no, right there in the middle.
I think we are mixing the work items, right?
Femin, right? If you look at the last comment from Milind, it says just clarifying a new release of Notation Alpha without any code change will fix this issue. Look at the last comment from GOKARNM Gokernam.
Yeah, so I think the issue was earlier we had our own custom implementation and then we moved to Horas one. But after that, we never released a new version. I think, but we did it last week, so this should be fixed. We just
No,
need
it
to
is not fixed.
verify.
That's what I'm saying. If you click on that link, number 150, scroll down, bring your cursor down a little bit. Bring your cursor down some more. You're taking it up or down? I'm sorry.
Down.
Yeah, it's the other way.
Sorry.
Yeah, Femin, can you just go to the last comment?
Okay.
Yes, there's a link. That's issue 150.
150.
So it's just clarifying a new release of Notation Alpha without blah 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 blah. Yes, that one.
No, yeah, but 170, that's not, so he's having problems even with all the latest releases. So if you click on the 170, were you able to look into 170? That's the one, like two conversations up there. That didn't, he's still having the problems with the 08090 notation client, the latest 080, sorry, the 030 Azure Key Vault integration plugin. And yeah, so there's still a problem.
So basically, we have two issues here. So one is the implementation for the specification. So that's one issue. Another issue is to fix this, right?
Yes, you're right, Shiva. Yes, there are two.
So that means we have to have two work items and they are in different priorities.
Yeah,
So
we were under the impression that by bringing in the new Horace Go library, this will get fixed. It did not get fixed, so something else is wrong.
Yeah. So so just make it two entries, and I will focus on the fixing the logging issue first.
Yeah,
And
there are two entries in the spreadsheet. If you go back to the spreadsheet now, there's a spec entry and there's an implementation entry. So this is in the implementation part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean two entries for implementation. So
okay.
together there are three entries. So one for spec, one for the implementation for spec, and the third one is to fix this issue.
Okay, let's do that. Then create a new line item, copy number 17 as a new line, and assign that to copy number 17 as a new line. And if we can put it to Shiva. And Shiva, what's a good start date for both of these?
So the implementation of the spec should go after the spec. So we need to merge the spec first. So we don't have a start date because we are not sure when it is got merged.
Okay.
But for the fix, I think I can start today or tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Feynman, did you get that? Like we are creating a copy of line number 17, putting issue number 170 on it.
Not quite clear.
Okay.
I remember.
Make a copy of line number 17 first.
Yeah. Copy it. And do you mean insert a new row?
Yes. And insert it as a new row. Yes, please.
Yeah, gotcha.
And just call it registry authentication bug and
okay, we update it as spec and
no, the first one is not that's implementation as well, this. And the second one, call it bug, registry authentication bug, or I'm calling it bug right now, somebody has a better name. And for both of these, put a start date of 6/5, or for the first one, put a start date of 6/15 right now. For line number 17. And anyway, I'm just putting a number in there, like whenever you get done, but it's not 5/16 anymore. So put this date at 6/15. And we need to, Steve, as you can see, like these dates are just getting pushed out.
Do we really need to, I mean, do the refactoring? I mean, I see the long-term value add, but I'm just wondering if it's necessary for an RC1 release.
I think that's in progress right now, David. Let me finish this and call this 6/7. Let's have Shiva hopefully start on it sooner. Let's call it 6/7 on this one, Feynman, that you're on line number 18. Line number 18 that you're on.
Okay.
Let's call it 6/7. And Shiva, I'm just thinking if you can look at it tomorrow. You may not look at it tomorrow, but that's the expected start date. And in the description, you can put issue number 170 there. That the link that you had, Feynman, you can put that link in there. So that's Shiva knows where the latest tracking for that information is. David, back to you. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted to finish that thought because Feynman was making changes in the spreadsheet. Yeah, I'm fine with your thought process there. Is refactoring helping us in the short term? Can we defer that work? It's a good question to ask.
So we used to have just notation and notation Go libraries, but for RC1 we created a new repository for core Go, right? And all the code that goes into core is we are working on it from scratch. So before we add any other code, we wanted to do this refactoring so that appropriate code is present in CLI layer, and then Go notation Go layer, and then core layer. That's why this is needed before RC1.
Okay. Payment, you have to put no, number 170 issue. Like, you have a link for that? I put the link in chat if you don't have it handy. Okay, Shive, the next item is the end-to-end signing. While Feynman is finishing that work, but
Samir, could you paste the related link to your
I
chat
did.
box?
I did put the link in the chat.
This one,
170.
okay.
And that's for line number 18. This goes in line number 18.
Oh,
The
okay,
bug is
sorry.
170. Great, thanks. That looks good. Shiva, before I think we're running out of time, but I wanted to finish while I have you here on number 19. I guess.
Okay, this one. So so which one takes priority? It's after the register authentication, or it's before the register authentication?
Well, I would have asked Milind that question, but Milind is not here. Rakesh, do you think if you were to prioritize Shiva's time, will you put him on number 19 first or number 17
yes,
first?
and yeah, I also want to mention one thing is that we are having more engineer resource other than me in my team, but they need more ramping time. I mean, they need more time to ramp up.
Yeah, understood. I think you have told us that you had some people you'll be ramping up at the beginning of May, but I think it's taking longer to ramp them up. So that's fine. Let me ask
I
Rakesh.
think, yeah, I think both of these are important for RC1 dates. I think, Samir, I think we need to discuss this with Milind and see if one of our engineers can pick this up so that we give some time to Shiva's engineers before they ramp up.
I doubt we'll have that flexibility, but okay, let's put 6/14 as the start date on this one as well, Shiva, because 5:30 is in the past. You can't start on it tomorrow. It's 6/14 as a good, if you can ramp up somebody starting 6/14 on this one.
Yes, and I think we can review that date next week.
Yeah. Okay, let's put 6/14 in column number 19, Feynman.
Okay, you added.
Okay, let's see what else is in the spreadsheet for Shiva, and before we run out of time to talk to Shiva, and we have to wait a week to have this face-to-face discussion. Make it 6/14 as well on this one, because it's equally important. Don't want to pick one or the other. And I guess, okay, scroll down to see if there's any other item assigned to Shiva.
This one?
Yeah.
I think that's the same thing for the signing. So it should have the same start time.
Okay, so make it 6/14 as well then.
Yeah. Basically, I think they are the same work item, but just split into signing and verification. They are the same.
Okay, yeah, I would not know, so I will trust your thought on that.
So should we combine? So should we combine the line items then,
or remove one duplicated?
Yeah.
Well, instead of removing it, we can divide the work in 0.5 and 0.5. That way we know that we are getting both of them. So you can change the effort to be 0.5 and 0.5 if Shiva, you think the effort is the same. So make 0.5 for this, make 0.5 for that. That way we know it's.
Or maybe just mark this item as a duplicate of other items.
I want to be sure that is the case, because Milind will not have broken it up like that, but that's why he's not here. Rakesh, do you have a thought on this? If you think line number 28 is a duplicate of line number 17? or 19?
No, I don't think that they are duplicates. The 19 one is for the signatures, right? And 28 is for um, verifying those signatures. So they're different.
Yes, it's different, but we usually code them at the same time because it doesn't make sense if you have only signing without verification, or you have verification without signing capability. Or maybe later it makes more sense, but signing without verification does not make sense.
Okay, I think let's leave it as 2 items. I don't have Milind here to say why when we put this list together. Let's see.
Okay, let's just keep as it is.
Okay, let's look at is there any other Shive item on this list, Femin? And then I think on Thursday, assuming you both can't join, then we will run through the other items on Thursday. Let's see if there's anything else for Shive. If you can scroll down more.
This one, I think this is blank.
Oh, somebody must have stepped on it.
What's number
just-
43? What's 43 like?
Let me think. What could it be? I'm looking at description.
Freeman, can you scroll left a bit so I can see the item title?
Okay. GitHub CI/CD.
Okay, it's GitHub CI/CD. Yes, I think we can get it done soon. Yes, I can have my team to do that.
Can you put a start date on it? What's the new start date on this?
So I think we can start this week, but just put the date the 7th of June.
So happy birthday to you, Gideon. Happy birthday, Gideon. God bless you, little guy. Super happy to see you doing so great after such a trauma. May God's hand be on you throughout your entire life.
Anyone mute David or someone else?
Who's got the birthday?
I think it was David. And the last one,
That was me.
The last one, Shiva, is you at 6. Like this is the inspect. We talked about the inspect describe signature. That's starting 6:29. So okay, I think we made quite a good progress today working through Shiva's items. And then next Thursday or this coming Thursday, we'll look at some other items work in progress where we are. But as you can see, Steve, we are about a month behind from where we thought we will be in just some of the items here.
Yep. That's why I'm trying to. That's why the other conversation kind of focused on what can we triage. But I'm not sure what else to offer here.
Yeah. Rakesh, any other item you want to discuss from your perspective, which we couldn't discuss today so far?
No.
Okay. So Roy, I think you have the big item here to go and investigate on finding a new library. And Steve, we need to close on those specs because I think those specs are blocking the implementers in making sure they write the unit test cases or what all work to plan from a CLI command perspective. So we can have those.
So I know I'm on the hook for the CLI commands that we talked about, but for the library, back to our triaging conversation, the library is around the local signing scenario. Is that something we should just triage for our C1 that it's a demo scenario until we have more time? Because even if we find a library, we still got to write the code to use it.
Yeah, I think let's wait on it as to what we find. If we find something which is super quick and easy and use somewhere else, let's see if Roy finds something. Let's see if Pritish or Milind find something on this, and we can conclude on it next week. But I'm with you. Let's not make it scale up our work.
Yeah. Roy has been very resourceful, pulling rabbits out of his hat, so I won't doubt him.
Okay.
Let's see what Jared comes back with.
Well, okay. So you got Jared as one of the rabbits in your hat that has another hat. You have nested hats.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what we can find.
So just 2 items. One, let's just be careful about Thursday's like we set up the meetings for Mondays to be Shanghai time with US, Thursdays to be Europe with US. I don't want to have any expectation the Shanghai folks should have to get up really late to join that call. We can work
Agreed.
async. And then the other was happy birthday to David.
Okay.
It's actually my son. He's 9.
Okay. Well, happy birthday to David's family.
Yeah. Have a
Okay.
good one.
Good meeting.
All right,
Thanks.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.